Hey guys, we're back on the 37 this week. Now, it's been about a month since we worked on it. We've had a lot of other projects going on. And where we left off was the pasture floorboard. Okay, we did everything around the sides, but we didn't sheet the bottom. The reason for that is I've got to set up for my pedals to come up through the floor. So I have to make the panels on the floor, have the cutouts for the pedals to come through. Well, we don't even have the pedals set up yet. I mounted the master under there, and that's it. Now, before, I had the master under the dash. The master sat closer to you, and you push on the pedal, and this upper piece on here would push the plunger in. But now, the master's under the floor and away from you. So this means we've got to modify all this to flip the other way. Now you can see on here, last time I cut it and angled it to make some room in the floor. Well, now we're going to do a lot more to it to be able to make it fit over the frame rail and over. So let's get to it. I'm going to cut this off, get it ground down so we can actually mark where we need our pedal. All right, we're going to take the pivot piece here, go ahead and put it on the shaft. Not going to put it dead straight up, I'm going to put it slightly back so we get a little extra throw on the plunger. Now, the plunger, we'll go ahead and put it in. And I can tell you right now, we got to take about an inch off the plunger in order to get it at the right distance so that it's not over cranking back. So you want it so it's a nice smooth spot where it's just going to plunge straight in. So just cut a little off this. Alright, I know you couldn't really see what I was doing in there, but what I did was take the pivot point, put it on, bolt up the plunger to it, and I marked that spot right there. That is 12 o'clock straight up. And what that's allowed me to do is index the pedal. Okay, now we're going to extend the pedal because now I'm 6 inches from the pivot point to the floor. So you got to do that, then you got to take and carry it up however far off the floor you want it. So what we're going to use is this 3/8 stock here. Now a lot of you guys are going to think, why would you use something that thick? Well, the fact of the matter is it's your brake pedal. If you got a panic stop and you stomp on that pedal, you don't want flimsy metal that's just going to fold away. So build it out of something sturdy, it's going to save you later. Alright, when I'm welding these pieces together, I'm not just butting the two ends together at the angle I want and filling the weld.
what I'm doing is actually sloping the bottom piece to the angle I want and overlapping the next piece that gives me a bigger four-sided weld that's going to be much stronger. I'll give you a close-up here so you can see what I mean. Instead of taking two pieces, setting them to the angle I want, welding the gap shut, maybe beveling the edges, welding the gap shut, what I'm doing is beveling the bottom piece to the angle I want. Then taking it and overlapping the two pieces like so. This allows me to get a four-sided weld, much bigger weld on the actual metal. Then it leaves this overhang piece here. With this, I can either cut it off straight or I can grind it to a nice curve without compromising the weld. Alright guys, well I got it all done. It's ready to go. Now when it goes in the car it looks like this. Now it's got this crazy offset to it. The reason is so that my foot can actually hit the gas or the brake without hitting them both at the same time. So you might wonder, why would I spend so much time TIG welding and making this brake lever like this? The reason is I've got some ideas in my head for some custom brake pedals. And last thing you want to do is put a really nice custom pedal on a janky freaking brake lever. So that's why I did it. Not just because it makes it really strong, but hey, you want to make your stuff look good. So I'm going to throw some paint on this just from the floorboard down, and we'll pick it up in the morning. Alright guys, the next morning I came out, park's nice and dry. I didn't just rattle can it with, Krylon or anything. I actually used bed liner, and I sprayed the bottom half with bed liner. Now, it's a little overkill, but hey, it's going to be under the car, under the floor, all the road grime, water, whatnot's going to be hitting it, so might as well protect it. After I got the pedal in the car, I realized that I do need the plunger a little longer. I did some adjustments on it, and the plunger is going to set where that pedal is exactly. Now I 12 o'clocked it, but after it's all said and done, I'd like the pedal forward just a hair more. That way when I throw, it doesn't smack the firewall as bad. So, not a big deal. The plunger that I had earlier, I've still got the piece. We're going to go ahead and weld this together, grind it smooth. When you do this, guys, you got to make sure that you don't have any big burrs or anything on it. It's straight, because when it goes into the master cylinder, it could bind and then your brakes don't work. So use the same trick I showed you guys before, using a piece of right angle to hold it straight. We'll weld it up. Alright, brake pedal's in. It's kicked over as far left as it possibly can without my foot actually riding against the side. Now this is the gas pedal. This is the pedal that I've been planning on using for the entire build. It doesn't fit. So we gotta come up with another plan. For once, I don't have a backup plan either. So I've started digging through all my scrap and everything, and I've come up with this collar, polyurethane body mount, and this piece of roll cage tubing. So what I'm going to have to do is get the collar to fit in the body mount, and then shave down the body mount to fit in there, so we've got a proper piece to pivot. So yep, get to work. Alright, well that took a good amount of time and made one heck of a mess sanding down this polyurethane puck. But we got it. It fits inside the outer tubing perfect. So now we can start building the pedal off the outer tubing. First thing I want to do though is weld a washer to the outer tubing, because that way the bushing can't kick out. We'll put the cap on one side and we'll bolt it from the other, and then it can't slide out. So weld that on first. Alright, so I've looked inside the car and I've marked where the gas pedal needs to be. Now we have nothing, so we have to build the bracket, all of it. So we're marking so that it doesn't interfere with the actual brake pedal. So the gas pedal is going to have to be tucked over and then come up. So right now I'm building that cross piece and the drop to go to the pivot point. Alright guys, here it is. Now this gets welded in between two of the bars in the framework on the floor. So it's staggered over and out to miss the brake pedal. This guy here is the piece that I made up. This is where the pedal arm's going to be welded to. So I've done some measuring. I know I have to be 2.5 inches to the floor, but by the time it clears the floor I need to be 1 inch over and then 8 inches up. That'll correct the whole arm to hold the gas pedal. Let's make the arm. Alright guys, so as you know I built over half of my stuff out of scrap. So I needed a piece to make this arm. So I started digging around in my scrap bins and I came up with this. It's spiked that goes in the ground that the wood, you nail the wood to for when you're framing for concrete. I think these are like $3. It's 1/4 inch steel. So I'm going to go ahead and grind the pan off and we'll see if we can weld this up. Now I didn't have a piece big enough to make the whole curve, everything by itself, so I had to make it in pieces. So all the pieces are cut. They're not exact yet because I'm gonna weld them then grind them to shape. So now I gotta sit and weld all the pieces together. So some of you might notice that my welds are really bulky. It's way too much material, things like that. Well, there's a reason behind it. I'm doing it on purpose so that when I grind it down to the shape I want, there's plenty of material so I don't have any pits or dips or things like that. So just letting you know. Now, you see in these areas, there's a little undercut here where it didn't line up properly. So what I'll do is grind these and then see what it looks like. If I need to add some material, I'll add some material. Now that I've mocked it all up, last thing I gotta do is weld the arm to the roller. Alright, there's going to be one last step that we can't do right now. And that's once the motor's mounted and we figured out what type of cable we're going to be running, whether it's a solid like a boat cable or if we're using a stranded cable, things like that. Then we'll be able to put the loop down here to mount the cable to. Now, depending on how much throw it needs, how long that piece is going to be. So if it's longer, it's going to get a lot more throw. So for right now, we're going to go ahead and put this in so we can finish making the floor panels. That way it doesn't hold us up anymore. I only tacked in this bar right now because when we're making the floor, if for some reason something doesn't want to go right, I can pop it out and fix whatever I need to get the floor to go in right. Now, the pedals, once the cable is connected and the actual brakes are bled, the pedals are going to sit about right there. Now these holes I left in them, they're there for a reason. They're so that I can make custom pedals and bolt them to it. And if I ever get bored, I can change them. So, but there it is. Well guys, building a throttle pedal assembly was not on my list for this weekend. But hey, plans don't work, adapt and overcome, use what you got. So, hopefully something I did in this video is going to help you guys on your builds. But for me, this stage is done. Now we can keep sheeting and moving forward. So, alright guys, do me a favor, like and subscribe. See you next week.